Okay.
All right, y'all. I just had to hit record on this because you guys know how this podcast goes. But I am meeting my new friend, even though we've been social media friends for a hot minute now. And we are catching up because she used to live in the area that we have apartments in South Carolina. She does not have children like I have children. She is an entrepreneur. Her husband is an entrepreneur. So I said, fuck, just stop. We've got to hit record because this is just going to be so good. So I'm so excited we're doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh. And I just told you, I was like, I don't know where this podcast is going to go, but I know you're a specialist at LinkedIn. So we're definitely going to head that way. But so tell me a little bit more about yourself and I'll learn about you and everyone else will learn about you. Like, give me all the things.
So I'm originally from Charlotte, North Carolina. I went to University of South Carolina, lived in Columbia, South Carolina for about 16 years. And then my husband and I, Gary, we were always vacationing on the coast. We love fishing, boating, all things outside. And so we kept visiting Charleston and it was too busy, too expensive. Everyone said, go to Beaufort. So we came to Beaufort and visited several times and decided to move here. And so we rented in a community called Habersham, which you guys have in common, which is so crazy. And then we rented there for a year and a half while we built our house. And now we've been here for 4 years.
Oh my gosh, that's so trippy. I swear to you, we were both probably in Habersham. So my husband and I have, or my husband and his brother, and I guess we're married, so I guess they're mine too. I can say that. But we have a bunch of apartments in Habersham, and we used to go back and forth during COVID when they were being built because my husband didn't want his employees having to travel if they didn't want to, and we didn't mind. So we went back and forth, and we lived in like almost like the townhouses behind the market where you were living. Guaranteed we were both there at the exact same time. How fucking crazy is that?
For sure, which is wild. I mean,
So
the
wild. I wish we would have known each other. I walked like every single day. We went out on the water in the afternoons and our favorite restaurant. So this is for all of you who ever get to Beaufort, go check out Fish Camp. It is absolutely the greatest restaurant ever. We love it.
great vibe, great food.
Oh, it's so good. I guarantee we both sat at the exact same bar at Fish Camp in Beaufort probably at the same time.
We probably did because during that time too, the fish camp was wide open and we were going there more than once a week.
Oh, hell yeah, girl. Like, that's the whole thing. I cooked, like, so, because we used to go over for a week, come home for 2 weeks, go over for a week, come home for 2 weeks. And I cooked like breakfast and lunch at the house. And then we kind of just wanted to get out because it's like I worked from the house all day. He was on site all day. And so we just went to fish camp like probably 3 nights a week, sat at the bar. You guys still had live music. It was fucking awesome.
We were for sure there at the same time.
Oh my God. So trippy. Well, I'm so glad we connected. And we actually connected through Kara's group, right? Is that how we originally found each other?
I'm
Rain
not
and Co?
sure if it was Instagram or LinkedIn.
Are you a part of Rain or no?
No.
Why did I think you were a part of Rain? Which is so funny because I feel like you were a part of Kara's Rain group. And that's how before you reached out to me about the podcast swap, I had bought your wine glasses. Chilled vino. I literally have sent these to gifts to clients because I felt like we were connected and I always like to support people whether they know it or not. So I didn't even tell you that I ordered them, but I've ordered them for clients.
That's also wild. And that's why I created the product because I love drinking wine outside, but I was sick of having to chug it because it was getting cold all the time. So I created a solution and now I sell it online and on Amazon. So sometimes I don't know who buys my product, but thank you either way.
Oh my God, you're so welcome. Because I was just like, I thought we were connected through Rain, but I guess we're just connected through LinkedIn, which is so crazy too, because you're the LinkedIn specialist. So obviously LinkedIn fucking works because I literally am using this podcast not only to serve everyone who's listening, but I am going to be extremely selfish because I am what I think I'm pretty good. Obviously, like I've kept a very, strong business through Instagram, but I'm not as good as LinkedIn. And like couple of my clients are fabulous on LinkedIn and you're fabulous on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn obviously works due to the fact that I bought your cups and we're fucking connected and I didn't even know.
So LinkedIn is not what it used to be. My former life, I was an executive search recruiter, so I was on LinkedIn all the time. looking for candidates for companies that were hiring that hired our firm. And it used to be a place where only job seekers and companies that were hiring are hanging out. But now, fast forward, I've been on it 15 years and I just started really ramping it up a year ago. So I can tell you the transformation that you can have on LinkedIn in a very short period of time, and it's wild. And so now it's not a place just for job seekers and companies that are hiring, it's a full blown professional networking site.
Yeah, and it's literally like, and I've been actually I've actually been very straightforward with a lot of my clients, and I'll definitely share this episode with them after, because I've been very straightforward with my clients. I was like, if you are not seeing the results that you love on Instagram right now, and I've been on Instagram a minute and I have different ways to gain followers and things like that, the podcast and speaking engagements and stuff. But I was telling them, I was like, if you are in the professional realm, you should be on LinkedIn, because it's a lot easier to grow on LinkedIn. So kind of give us the 411 on what it is that you actually do on LinkedIn.
So I help female entrepreneurs start, grow, and scale their personal brand and their business on LinkedIn. So here are some LinkedIn stats to back up how powerful the platform is. Number one, there are 1 billion with a B users on LinkedIn. It just crossed that mark a couple months ago and it's continuing to skyrocket up. Number two, only 1% of people post content and are content creators on LinkedIn, as opposed to Instagram and Facebook, which is over 57%. So the visibility that you can have on LinkedIn is literally insane. Number three, the average user of LinkedIn makes over $100,000. So what that means is people have disposable income and money to spend with you on your products, services, and offers.
Yeah, for sure. Which does make a lot of sense, because even still to this day, I mean, I even did a discovery call with a woman the other day, and it's nice that I'm one of the very few people at this kind of level that still does free clarity calls and stuff like that. And I'll do a call with someone and then I'll tell them, even my lowest end package, I'll tell them and they're like, "Oh, well, I don't have an extra $100." And I'm just like, "Hey, no worries. This is I put myself out here to do these free clarity calls, but at the end of the day, if you don't have an extra $100, you're probably not in the market for my service at this moment in time. So continue to listen to the podcast and consume the free content."
Yeah, absolutely. And on my website, I have digital courses at different levels. They're at 3 different tiers. And then I have a one-on-one coaching program I offer that's obviously a higher ticket program,
Yeah.
but that's a more intense strategic situation, which is obviously, like you mentioned, like a higher investment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm totally like, I mean, I only do high end investment. Like, I always tell people, I'm like, if you just want to consume my content for the rest of your life and listen to the podcast, 100%, I hope you're taking action, because action breeds actual results. You got to change to change. But at the end of the day, like, I love the fact that you do offer those lower ticket price points, because people can, if they're willing to actually do what you tell them, they can actually grow. So kind of like break it down for us. Like, what if I'm someone brand new? Obviously, I want everyone to go check out Caroline's website and follow her on LinkedIn. And you are on Instagram still, and you've got your podcast.
I am. I have the podcast and I have, even though my LinkedIn channel on paper isn't as large as my Instagram account, I'm more active and have more of a community on LinkedIn than Instagram.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it makes sense that that's kind of what you teach. So it probably makes sense for sure. So if I'm a brand new female, and I know you only work with females, but if I'm a brand new female entrepreneur, I'm bringing my business to market, what would be the first few things that you would suggest that I do?
First, you need to set up a profile. Second, you need to optimize your profile. And third, you need to come up with a content strategy of exactly, you need to decide that you are going to start posting on LinkedIn. A lot of people think LinkedIn is scary because they're like, whoa, the visibility is insane. Or maybe they're connected to their ex-boss or their ex-coworker, or like Susie Q from high school, which who really cares about her in her opinion?
A lot of people do.
I know, so true. But you have to start, you have to just start. You have to take those 3 steps and then decide what exactly type of content you're going to start posting about and how frequently you're going to post it.
Okay, so what are your suggestions when it comes to the content strategy? Like what do you see kind of works the best right now? Obviously, with social media, everything changes all the time, but what do you kind of see as like the best strategy? Does it depend on the person? Does this depend on the business? Tell us some things on that.
I think you need to start talking about what you know. So that way you position yourself as an authority figure and a thought leader. And if you say, well, I don't really know, I'm not an expert at XYZ, everyone's an expert at everything. Even if you're administrative assistant, you have things to say. You talk about, making things easy for the executive that you work for, how you organize things. If you're a marketing professional, talk about your marketing strategies, how often you post, what it's like working with your clients. If you're an accounting professional, talk about those things. So you don't have to be like the biggest or the best or the expert. Just start talking about it on LinkedIn and you will create a community of people that view you as an expert.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of Gary Vee. I've always kind of been a huge fan of Gary Vee. Like people have told me I'm kind of like a female type of Gary Vee. Like I kind of just say it like it is, right? And I'm also from the mindset of long term. Like I play the long game. I'm not at all concerned with the short term of a lot of things. And I know that that also puts a lot of people off because a lot of people want to quit when things don't work. Like, oh, I've been doing it 6 months, I've been doing it a year. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, are you willing to do it until it works? And that's very much like, I think, a Gary Vee mentality. But Gary Vee has really been talking about LinkedIn lately. And he's also been talking that Facebook's come and have like, a back around type of thing. I'm definitely not a Facebook person, but I will tell you, I've had my team do it and I really just need to create the space. I'm kind of doing something and I don't know when this podcast will come out, but probably by the time this podcast comes out, I'm going to do like a short podcast once a week. And then this longer series of podcasts on Thursday. So I really haven't had the bandwidth to really do my own due diligence on LinkedIn. And that's something that I'll say. I'm very lucky that I have my assistant posting here and there on LinkedIn. However, if you really want to do anything really well, learn how to do it yourself is kind of my opinion. And I really need to be actually doing LinkedIn a lot more than I am. But Gary Vee does say, he says LinkedIn is that place that people who aren't perhaps getting the results that they want to get really need to get good at.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000,000%. And LinkedIn, just like what you mentioned, I mean, anything worth doing, you have to stay in it. So LinkedIn is a long game. I mean, you're not going to get in there and start posting and have all these likes and shares and comments in the beginning, but you got to stick in it and keep grinding it out. And with my programs, even my high ticket one-on-one programs, when I work with founders, I can do a partnership. So I can have, and it's a 3-month program. So I could work with the founder for 30 minutes a month because I need to have the high level strategy piece, but then the back end piece of the outreach and the posting and all that frequency, I can work with their support staff or their social media managers. So I've set it up that way because there is a grind to it that is more transactional, but you have to have the strategy piece involved too.
What do you think is the best strategy when it comes to LinkedIn? Like you talked about the profile and stuff like that, but what really have you seen with your clients that really works?
Outreach is really important, and that's a combination of connection requests and DMs. I think there's a lot of magic in the direct messaging, and a lot of people are scared of it or worried, or it's not as used as it is on Facebook or Instagram, but there's a lot of magic that happens in the DMs.
Yeah, I believe there's a lot of magic in the DMs period, and I think that that kind of gets a very bad rap. Like I was literally verbatim, I can show you right now. I literally sent a message to one of my my membership clients who I only see like once a month, and I suggested to her on our last call that she do like a Mother's Day type of special, and I saw her post, and so on the DM I just sent her a message. I was like, "Hey, have you DM'd this to the last 15 people who've liked your post or the last 10 people who have at least commented on your shit and like actually give them a hey, I've done this. I know that you've been looking at my stuff, or I know that we jumped on a quick call and it wasn't the right time for you, but I wanted you to see this." If I personally believe the DMs is like fucking gold, and yet there's so much trash in the DMs that I think a lot of people go, I don't want to be that person. But I think it's the same thing as like a friendship. Like you could be a really shitty friend that's always wanting something, or you can be a friend who's like actually trying to serve another human. And so if you go into the DMs with that mentality of like, they may not like it, they may ignore it, they may not like give me a reply back. But if you actually do it because you're actually trying to help someone, the fucking DMs are gold.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's an automation tool you can use for LinkedIn with the DMs. I strongly suggest not using that.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you said that. Yes, I agree.
I think it's important to customize. I mean, you don't have to customize and spend like, 10 minutes on a message. You can customize it enough so that it actually communicates directly to the person, but you can tell the difference between the automated messages because they initially pop right back up and they're really spammy. Or in my methods, I teach you wait, a day, a couple hours or whatnot, and you reach out intentionally and communicate your message.
Yes, 100%. I know that on Instagram, is it the same thing? Is it called ManyChat in LinkedIn?
I'm not sure what it's called on LinkedIn. It's just a feature you can set up in the settings, but
Oh.
I strongly do not think that. But I mean, I get those messages and I'm like, bye, delete.
Oh my God, it is horrible. Like it is just like I get them obviously like I get like one or two on LinkedIn or whatever because I'm not on there as much. But like on Instagram, it is so crazy how many DMs I get. And it's just like such like I just like am so curious like why people spend their time on this, but I actually obviously it must work in some regard because people wouldn't do it if it doesn't fucking work. But like part of me is like, who is buying this?
No, I think the same thing on LinkedIn. I'm like, is this really working? And I usually block those people anyways because I don't have time for that.
Yeah, like I actually a woman who was just on my podcast, Hillary, I had posted something about the ManyChat because a lot of people are using ManyChat on Instagram, like comment the word, Caroline and I'll send you the podcast or whatever. A lot of people are actually saying that that's helping their engagement and helping their reach because Hillary told me she's like I actually see that ManyChat is actually really helped my engagement. It's helped me communicate with my community and all the things. And I think when she and I were kind of communicating back and forth with it, one thing that she said that I totally agreed on, she's like, I think in the beginning, like if you have an audience of under 10,000 people, you have like absolutely no reason to be using ManyChat. You just fucking don't. Now, if you have an audience of a couple 100,000 people and you have grown this audience and they're very engaged, yes, these features can be fantastic. But I mean, I have 20,000 followers, which is hardly anything. To some, it might be something, but like I have the time to go in and individually send a quick, whatever message, or it's a copy and paste from something else, but it's a little bit more individualized. But that is the shit that actually works long term, in my opinion.
No, I agree. The DMs in LinkedIn are me. The DMs in my Instagram are me. And yeah, I agree. If you get really freaking huge, then you need to utilize those tools, but there's no excuse. Like it's me.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think that it needs like even in my text message community, like I tell people all the time, I'm like, my assistant, she like literally posts only like on Facebook and she posts on LinkedIn, creates the graphics, sends the invoices and does all the things, but like I am responding to my text. I am posting on Instagram. I am responding to every single DM. I tell her specifically, you are never to reply to a DM because I need my organic voice to be talking to that person if that person has a question for me. And like that's how you actually make a sale most of the time because my team, even though my longtime assistant, she like literally is in my brain and probably could do it, she doesn't know enough about the situation in order to have that communication. So I totally agree with you when it comes to that. So when you're talking, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And you don't want to risk losing someone from your community or your clients because they found out that they actually weren't communicating with you. I mean, that's just not worth it to me.
Heck no. And especially in the beginning stages too, where a lot of people are like building, like that one client or that one referral or that one really good lead, even if they don't turn into a client, that's a person who like perhaps shares your podcast or tells someone else to follow you or like shares a post or whatever. Like that's a way in which to grow your community long term. It may not be an automatic sale, but gosh, the amount of like effort it takes to just even get one person, why fuck it up?
I'm gonna do a post about this on LinkedIn. This is a great topic.
Oh my God. Yes, it's so true though. Like it's so true. Like you can automate a lot of crap. You can have your team do a lot of different things, but at the end of the day, you should be the person like speaking your voice. And until you have someone working for you or until you're so overwhelmed that you can't do it yourself, like don't hire that crap out.
Agreed.
100%. So in the beginning stages when people are hiring you, so you have a lot of founders that you work with. My question to you is you are going in and doing this. So like what's the practice and procedure there to make it seem like cuz you're helping them. So like what that's is that counterintuitive to what we're just talking about? Like tell me a little bit about what that actually looks like.
So I set the program up. So a lot of people were coming to me and saying, can I just pay you to do it for me? Like an agency transactional environment or situation. And I had no interest in doing that. Like I wanted to actually teach them how to do it because it's not rocket science. It does take time to build it. And then once you start building it, it literally is like a snowball and explodes. But the concepts that I teach in my programs are not rocket science. And so I just wanted to go in there and teach the exact strategies. And I went in 1 year, I went from 0 followers to over 7,000 on LinkedIn.
Wow.
And I kept just pivoting every single time. And then once I had posts go, it wasn't even about posts going viral. It was about actually creating a community, actually finding people that wanted to listen to the podcast, that were interested in growing on LinkedIn, and it being serving a bigger purpose.
Yeah. So a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people that come to you, females, founders, want to grow on LinkedIn. What do you specifically, because I know that someone who's listening to this is like, you know what, Instagram fucking sucks, or I hate Facebook and I do not want to do it. And I do want to play the long game and do LinkedIn right. What do you actually help them do? Like, give us a detail of like all of the things that you actually do.
I teach them how to set up their profile. Okay. How your profile looks and how it's optimized matters because you have less than 3 seconds to catch someone's attention. And that could be someone who wants to listen to your podcast or buy your service or, buy your product, whatever you're selling, your customer is on LinkedIn. Number 2, I go through exactly how to set up your content strategy. So exactly how often you're posting, exactly what you're saying, how to change up the content routines so that we keep people engaged. And people think LinkedIn is like this scary professional, place, but you can be personal on LinkedIn too. I have shared pictures of my dogs that I call my podcast managers on there, and that shit went viral.
That is so funny that you said that. Do you follow Kat Golden?
I think so.
Okay, so Kat and I are really good friends, and Kat is like literally the content queen. Like she is just she is like literally one of my greatest people that I look up to because she's actually a real human. She like works her ass off. She's had a ton of success and she's so fucking good at what she does. And Kat, her dog is her manager. And she says that that is literally one of the greatest tools that she's ever had is actually have a like tangible thing that you can call something else. And she like literally calls out her audience. She's like, my manager wants you to know. And like, she'll call out her audience or whatever. And my dumbass has yet to do that, but I feel like I kind of do that through my husband a little bit because like my husband is like the thing that people like on my social media. It's fucking crazy. But all of that to be said, it's so smart that you have your dog as your podcast manager because brilliant tool.
Yeah, I put them on my Instagram stories a lot, like podcast managers at work. And then I'll do a post about the dogs of the podcast managers on LinkedIn maybe once a quarter. So it's not spamming people on LinkedIn about my dog, but it makes me relatable. Like, hey, I'm a puppy mama too. Like, here's what's going on while I'm doing all these posts for you guys and podcast recordings.
Yeah, that's so good because it gives that human. Do you feel like, so I'm a big, everything that I kind of talk a lot about is like the mindset side of things, like mindset and strategy. And I'll tell you, like, You can give someone a strategy all day long. At least this is what I have found, and tell me what your thoughts are. You can give someone a strategy all day long. You can tell someone, here is the black book of exactly what I have done to make X amount of dollars and grow to 7,000 followers. What do you see as the mindsets, mindset blocks of people who, quote unquote, it doesn't work for?
You either take action or you don't. And I don't care what excuse you have in your head, time, money, you're scared, you're nervous. I don't care. Like, I mean, you just have to start, and that you just have to start your LinkedIn journey. I started with zero, with nothing. And then I got to 7,000 in under a year. And that created over 500,000 views and visibility for me in a 1 year period. And if I can do it, you can do it. And so it's just changing the mindset of taking action. And if you don't take action, I don't want to hear your excuses.
Yeah. What are some of those excuses? Because I do like that's a lot of the stuff that I kind of, help clients with, whether it's like money, business, personal, whatever. I just feel like most people have like those 3 or 4 main excuses, whatever, like you just said, the time, the money, like they don't want to put themselves out there and do all the things. But have you seen that be the huge differentiator between the people who have success and the people who don't have success is the people who are willing to work through their mindset stuff?
Oh yes, 1,000,000%. I had a meeting with an individual last week about podcasting, and I was asked by a good friend to do the meeting, which is the only reason agreed to do it. And I was so excited to pull up Apple Podcasts and find her podcast name and, talk about strategy and all high level stuff with her, because at this point I've been doing my podcast about a year and a half. And we got on there and she was like, I haven't published an episode yet. And I was like, deflated. And she was so I hung in there in the meeting because, again, it was a referral and a good friend asked me to do it. Lesson learned. And I should have asked more questions first. But she was all caught up in like the tech, like what microphone and the trademark and, yada, 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 getting guests and do we do questions or not? And I was like, all you got to do is press record and publish it.
Yeah. You should have sent her to me. Because that's honestly the truth. I see people so many times that come to me and say, I'm starting this thing, but like, I don't have the bank account yet. I don't have the brand yet. I don't have the LLC yet and all the things. I was like, you're afraid to spend X amount of dollars to work with me. Let me save you about 10,000 right here, right now. Number 1, you don't need a fucking website. Number 2, you don't need fucking brand colors. Number 3, it doesn't matter what you do. You just have to start. So for anyone who's listening to this, I don't care what it is, for the love of God, you just have to start. And all of the shit that you are spending so much time, so much money, so much waiting for literally does not fucking matter. Everything from when I first started, and I'd love your story too, from when I first started to where I am today, everything's changed. The brand colors are about to change. Like Decide It's Your Turn came like probably 2.5 years after I started. My website literally just got redone last year. I've been doing this 7 years. Like none of the shit actually matters.
No, same. And my podcast, I mean, I looked at my husband and said, I'm starting a podcast about a year and a half ago. And he's like, okay. I had no clue, went down a rabbit hole in a blog, figured it out. And if you're like, I don't have experience editing a podcast or doing branding or whatever, you can figure it out. If I can do it, you can do it. And what used to take me 3 hours a year and a half ago takes me under 10 minutes now.
So do you edit your podcast yourself and put it all up?
Yes.
You are such a unicorn. Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. I could do that too, but I have zero fucking desire to do so. So good for you. I'm proud of you. But see, you can be either way, guys. You can be like Caroline, who's like, I'm just going to do it myself and just going to throw it up and it's going to be all the things. And then you could be like me, which is like, I love to pay people to do things that I don't want to do. And I would much rather employ people who actually like doing that than spend the time and effort doing it myself. So good job, you. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for being the yin to my yang.
I'm with you on outsourcing things. Like I can do a lot of things, but like accounting, I cannot do accounting. I had to outsource that, and I've got a professional doing all my, transactions and all that. But to add to that, you have to be okay with sucking. Like when I started podcasting, I sucked. Now a year and a half later, It's a different story. So you just have to be okay with sucking in the beginning, and no one's going to be amazing from the beginning anyways. It's just like going to the gym. Like, just because you go to the gym for a week, you're not going to get a six pack. Like, you have to work on that shit in the kitchen, in the gym, put the reps in.
Yep. And honestly, like I kind of want to talk about two things. Number one is you've obviously like I want to talk about kind of like your journey and your kind of story, your just kind of maybe life story because you're obviously like right off the bat, obviously we're just really getting to know each other a little bit, but you're obviously a person who trusts herself. You're obviously a person who has confidence that, you might not be confident in every single thing. I'm not confident in every single thing, but I am confident enough in myself to know that like I'll figure it the fuck out. Like I can handle whatever comes to me. I can do the damn thing. And that is like that inner confidence. People always say to me, I'm confident. And I was like, people used to say I was confident 20 years ago, but there was a big difference between internal confidence, true rock solid confidence versus the external confidence. And I feel like that's kind of what you're pursuing. Like that's kind of like what you're putting out. Like I can tell you're a confident person in yourself. And so that's a huge part of it. So I'd love to know kind of like how did that actually happen? Like what kind of made you as confident as you are, trusting yourself to do the damn thing, to leave corporate recruiting for after how many 15 years you said to do your own damn thing? Like how did that journey happen?
It's a process. And yeah, I mean, I left a fancy six-figure, benefits, all the things job. It sounded great at cocktail parties when I was talking about negotiating the private jets into the benefits package, but I wasn't fulfilled. I was empty inside. I was bored. I wasn't being utilized to my fullest potential. And so while I was in my corporate job and using LinkedIn regularly for my corporate job, I also decided to start putting myself out there on LinkedIn and start my LinkedIn journey. And then fast forward a year and a half later, I'm in a podcast mastermind. And my mentor there, she said, you don't need to teach people how to recruit for their companies. They're just going to want to pay agency fees and outsource it like what you've been doing. You need to teach people personal branding and how to build their business on LinkedIn because people want to figure out LinkedIn. So I think a lot of it has to do with, you asked about the inner confidence. It starts with doing the work. I mean, you're not just going to flip a switch and wake up and be confident and be the founder of a wine company and have a podcast and have a coaching program on LinkedIn. It's a process. And so giving yourself grace, putting in the reps, doing the work, doing the mindset work, reading the books, listening to the podcast, taking care of your body, living a healthy lifestyle. I do the 80-20 rule. So 80% I live life clean, 20% is the wine, the cheese, the carbs. And that's sustainable for me. I read every morning. I would love to say I meditate, but I just cannot sit still. I don't know. I like to take a walk and listen to a podcast. But one of the things that's been most beneficial to me is as I've had this professional and personal development journey, you start putting yourself in the rooms with people who you want to be like or that you can learn from. And that does take an investment. It's a time investment and it's a financial investment, but it is worth it times a million.
100%. I totally agree. Like everything Caroline just rattled off, hit back 30 seconds times 4 so you can listen to the last 4 minutes. I mean, she and I are saying exactly the same thing in a completely different way. Like we both have different, very different backgrounds. But at the end of the day, it was very much committing that you wanted something more, committing that you were going to do the thing and it was going to work out no matter what. I have a couple of clients that in the beginning stages, I love getting to work with my clients, but not everything happens overnight. Not everything happens as fast as you want. And you think because the internet unfortunately tells you that like it can happen overnight and you can make all this money and quit your corporate job and do all the things. It happens very differently for every person. Some people do, strike fire right off the bat and can leave their corporate career immediately or within 3 months or whatever it is. But some people, it takes a long period of time. But I think if you look at the common theme, it's the person who's willing to take action. It's the person who's investing in themselves. It's the person who's building their self-confidence. It's the self-trust. It's working through the mindset of like, what if I fail? What are people going to say? Something that you said that I think is really a point that I've heard a lot from people, and I'd love for you to talk about it. A lot of people are afraid to start talking about their personal brand and themselves while they're still employed with their employer. How did you navigate still being employed by your employer, but also putting yourself out there? How did that work
It
on
was
LinkedIn?
scary.
Okay.
Yeah, it was scary. I'm not gonna lie and sugarcoat it. Thankfully, I had an employer who knew I had a side hustle with chilled vino and was supportive of that. It had nothing to do with recruiting. And they were fine with me putting myself out there on LinkedIn and really, I mean, because all my coworkers are watching me. My boss was watching me, the CEO of the company was watching me, the COO, you name it, like everybody and their mama was watching me, all my friends. And I stumbled. I mean, it wasn't perfect. My LinkedIn post in the beginning, I didn't get a lot of engagement, a lot of things flopped. But it was a mindset. I had to commit to it. I knew that I wanted to do something different than what I was doing, which was executive search recruiting. And so LinkedIn was the tool that I was able to use and harness and perfect to change my situation and taking action on it and committing it. So I decided one day, shortly after I started the podcast, I'm going to commit to LinkedIn and I'm going to post on there 5 days a week. That was something that I could do. Maybe your schedule availability is once a week or 3 days a week or 7 days a week, whatever that looks like, just commit to it. And yes, there are plenty of days where I don't feel like showing up, where I don't want to engage with people. I'm not in like a roses and ponies mood. You can schedule those days out. LinkedIn allows a scheduling tool for you to use up to 90 days out. And so a lot of times if I know I'm traveling or have something else going on, I'll plan ahead. And there's a lot of Saturdays I spend content creating and planning for the next week. And so you have to put the time and the effort into it. But I love it. I mean, it lights me up. It makes me so happy. I love helping my clients. I love watching them grow on LinkedIn. It's just been, you just have to commit to it.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Like, I just think that that is so important. You have I recently had a client leave and it was very much, and I wish I would have seen it closer in the beginning. We still have a great relationship. He'll probably end up coming back. But I told him stop. I said, don't spend another fucking dollar because everything that you're doing is because you're trying to make money. You think you should be, and it's not going to work. Like it might work. There's been a lot of people in this world that have made money doing something that they fucking hate. Like, but at the end of the day, I don't want you to spend so much money that you perhaps don't have at the moment doing something that you fucking hate because you think it's going to make you money. I want you to pick something that you enjoy doing and keep your fucking 9 to 5, but go be happy. Go do something that you want to do. That goes back to kind of Gary Vee with all the things he talks about. He's like, if you fucking love, I don't know, I have a pair of glasses, blue blockers, and you know why blue blockers will save your life and why they're the greatest things and where to buy them cheap and do whatever. Become so fucking obsessed with posting about blue blockers and you'll have probably much more success and you'll actually enjoy the process. Because what's the fucking point? Like, I don't know Caroline that well, but like, we followed each other for a hot minute. She probably knows this about me. I'm not going to do shit I don't like. Fuck no. Like, I do this because I'm obsessed with it, because I want to work on a Saturday, because I don't mind putting in the grind, because I wasn't going to quit when I first started when it wasn't working. I'm willing to take flack from people that I know when things plummet and they don't go as well as you want to. I'm willing to put my ass out there on the line. I'm willing to have family, friends, people who like want to talk shit, whatever. I'm willing to do all those things because I care about it so much. And if you're listening and you can hear Caroline, she's doing it for the exact same reason. And that's the reason why she has success doing it. Like, everyone thinks it's fucking rocket science. I even put this on my social media this morning. I'm like, it's not fucking rocket science. Like, none of this is.
It's not. Here's the reality is your employer does not own you. And so you can start a side hustle or start a business in addition to your 9 to 5.
Thank you for saying that.
You just have to make the time.
And you have to commit to doing it. And if it does not make you money in the first week or even the first year, it doesn't mean that you're failing. It doesn't mean anything. It just means like, are you willing to figure out how? Are you willing to figure out a different strategy, a different mindset? Are you willing to put yourself out there? Are you willing to sacrifice in one area to be able to invest in a different area? Like Caroline has said on this podcast a few times, she's like, I'm not any fucking different. If I can do it, you can do it. And I feel the exact same way. So I am so grateful we did this. I'm so grateful that we connected. So tell everyone where they can obviously find you on LinkedIn, but a lot of my audience is on Instagram as well. So I know you're there. Tell us about Chilled Vino. How did that actually start? Just because you didn't like hot wine?
So in 2018, I was on a vacation with my husband and we were at a resort and ordered a glass of rosé by the pool. And it was like something ridiculously expensive, like an $18 glass of rosé. And I got it delivered to me in a little shitty plastic cup. And I was like, okay, there has to be a better way. So when we got back from the vacation, scoured the internet, and found there was nothing that actually looked and felt like a wine glass. There's a stemless version, but I wanted something with a stem that had innovative cooling technology in it so that it would keep my wine cold. I live in South Carolina. I like to be outside on the patio, by the pool, by the beach, all the things. And I wanted to create something that would make a more pleasurable drinking experience. And so I went on the journey. I got on Upwork and I hired an engineer. I wrote an ad, interviewed engineers, which was really fun. And so I hired one, and the reason I hired him, and he was really passionate about what I was doing and my idea. And so we went on the process of prototyping and putting the drawings together. That was a 2-year process. Then I had to go out and source a manufacturer. And by the way, nobody wanted to talk to me. I had to solicit hundreds, if not thousands, of manufacturers because they're like, you're who? What's your product name? All the things. So I finally found one manufacturer that agreed to work with me, and they are still my manufacturer today. I had to go down the IP rabbit hole too of getting trademarked, getting a patent on my product, which I have both. And then once I had the product made, it was middle of COVID. I had to get it shipped to me. So I was paying triple on shipping fees. And when you work with manufacturers, they have one thing called MOQ, which means minimum order quantity. And so I was having to order a minimum of a certain amount of product just to get started. Talk about a huge financial investment. And then once I got the product, guess what? It's not going to sell itself. You have to get out there and sell it. I didn't have the money to go hire an agency to pay for these Facebook or Instagram ads. Actually, I had to do it. So I had to build the Instagram account. I had to build the Facebook. I had to get out there and sell it. I finally found an Amazon partner. So a lot of my sales do come from Amazon, and then I have sales direct to consumer from my website. So it's been a journey.
Good for you. Good for you. Like, you didn't quit through COVID and all the things. I have a client who's bringing a product to market right now, and it is a journey. It doesn't matter if you've done it once. It feels like it's hard to do it again. And yeah, there's just so much mindset stuff that comes into it as well. And it's just that obviously what you have is that, like, I'm just going to keep going no matter what. So you guys, please, please, please go check it out. Chilled Vino. I've actually sent these cups to clients. So when Caroline reached out to me, I was like, oh, I know who you are. I've ordered your cups before. So Chilled Vino, VINO, Chilled Vino. Go check it out. You can check it out on her website, on her social media. They have an Instagram platform, or you can just put it in on Amazon. That's what I did. Thank you so much for doing this. Where does everyone find you?
So my website is www.femininefounder.com. You can find ways to work with me directly there. My digital courses on how to start on LinkedIn or how to scale and level up your LinkedIn are on there. My website for Chilled Vino is chilledvino.com. And you can find me on Instagram is at cpennington55, or send me a DM on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Yay. I'm so glad that we did this. You guys, please share this one. Go find her, buy those cups, and get on LinkedIn. I am committing to doing it. I just don't know when yet, but once I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you.